There's no free lunch, just so you know. There's no free lunch.
The system is broken. We know that. So, so I'm going. Another thing I discovered that I didn't know, I uh, I got a good deal on Brazil nuts. I like nuts. I'm always eating a handful of nuts. To my, I can tell you, to my dismay,
We can go
you know,
several ways on this one. Go,
yeah,
go ahead.
and
I got some information on Brazil nuts, actually. Go
I can
ahead.
see you smiling.
It's your story. It's your
Yeah,
story. Go ahead. I'm interested to see what happens here.
I can see you smiling, but I realize that there are ramifications of eating handfuls of nuts every day. So my first, I'm curious about. Every time I tried to smash one of them, I never really got the nut out of there. I always got some fragments. So I googles how to break a Brazil nut, and the ones I'm eating are shelled, so they can go in like popcorn. They're I can take a handful of them things. So I'm reading about this stuff, and it says do not overdo these nuts. They've got a lot of oils in it, and something called selenium or something like that.
Selenium. Yes, that's what I was going to
Selenium,
warn you about.
and I said, holy smokes! So the last bout uh, had several of the symptoms that warn
S-
you against that. Yeah,
Selenium withdrawal.
yeah, I had several of those symptoms. I said maybe that was what caused all that because I was just wolfing them down by the handful. So I found that to be interesting. Brazil nuts come with with a warning. So that was new. That was all new to me.
I didn't realize it came with a warning, but I was reading about nuts just a couple of weeks ago, and it said you should not eat more than four in a day. If you eat more than
You
four
run the
nuts,
risk.
that's four.
Yeah,
You
I
are
know.
increasing your selenium levels to levels that could become toxic to you.
Well,
Who knew?
I might have exceeded that. I might have exceeded it because
I'll betting you. I'm guessing you did.
I'm guessing I did too. So I learned this. I discovered that too. Um,
So okay, we're starting the new year off educationally. This is great. Okay.
yeah. I also I was thinking about like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, and I just wanted to tell you that I calculated the amount of exercise I got on day one, January 1. I said to myself, huh, I actually walked 690 feet on day one, which was basically 25 times from the couch to the fridge.
That's a bad start.
Yeah.
That's a bad start.
As far as I got that day because I gorged on bowl games and so on and so forth. And I said, this could be a problem if I don't change my habits already. I'm going to be in trouble. And the last thing that I discovered, uh, well, actually, the last two things I discovered. One was I had stuck a pair of perfectly good dirty sneakers outside because my wife said they were not so perfectly good
That's
and they
like
were
perfectly good.
yeah, really I could see them. They're my work sneakers, so they were beat up
Okay.
pretty bad. So
They're pretty
she says
bad.
she kind of said you need to get rid of them, and I said no, they're still good, still have some soul left to them. Stuck them outside, and I put them I sort of leaned them against a little wall there, and I realized that there are a lot of creatures that move around outside, especially the anoles, the little
Who?
brown anoles, Anoles, anoles or something. I think they're pronounced. They're a
Oh,
little Cuban, little Cuban lizard, a little gecko kind of a thing.
oh, okay. All
Yeah, and
right.
they're not the ones. They're not the ones that can walk upside down in your ceiling. That's a different crew.
Okay.
Yeah, so these guys are more on the ground, and they like to display their little chest.
Oh, the ones that puff out.
Yeah, the ones that puff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're
Okay,
cute.
so
Tough
those little
guys.
buggers, yeah,
Tough
they get
guys.
in,
Yeah.
they get in everything. So I said to myself, when I pick these shoes up, I always have to shake them out because I don't know what's going to be inside of them. And then it occurred to me, this is you heard it here first. I said, I'll bet you if I nailed a pair of shoes or a shoe to a tree, it would make a perfect nest.
There,
It would make an ideal nest. So
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's a palm tree right outside my window. I think I'm gonna run a ladder up there. I'm gonna nail it to the tree and see see what creature decides to inhabit it. I mean, it'd be perfect for birds, squirrels, and unfortunately vermin. I mean, there's some vermin to run around up and down the trees. The little we'll call them rats. That's our pathway. They jump up the tree, run across the palms, and they run across your roofs or
Run
whatever.
across your roof.
Yeah. So I
Drop on the
said,
screen. Yeah.
so I'm thinking this idea, if it catches on, you could go into a forest and with your old sneakers, nail them to a trees out there, and pretty soon there would be tennis
You're
shoes.
always thinking, you're always thinking,
There'd be tennis shoes stuck nailed to trees all over the country, and it would have instant homes for all the various creatures who don't, or maybe too lazy to make their own nest. They jump right in this thing. So
as long as they don't have good smelling abilities, right?
you imagine that. Look, there's a $900 pair of Nikes nailed to the tree up there, or something like that.
Oh,
Hey, and last but not least, David, I know this amuses you because we've talked about this many times. I'm totally fascinated by the industrious ant. There
ant.
is they're just out there. I see them all the time. They're everywhere. They're just completely everywhere. And there are some that I pass. I pass these things and I see their little mounds, and I get down on my hands and knees and I take my hands and I cup all the dirt from that little mound. You can see a little hole in the middle of the mound. I cup that dirt and I push it right on top of that thing. And then I look at my watch and I carry on. And then I come back. I walk past the same mound later on that day, and it's open. It's always open. And I marvel of how that could be open. How do they start from the bottom? Do they pull it all back in, open the hole, take it all back out?
That tells me two things. Number one, ants are incredibly industrial and hardworking dudes. And number two, you got way too much time on your hands. I keep warning you.
That's exactly what happened in the last 2 weeks. I had way too much. No big projects going. No, electrical things that occupy my mind all day long. So I always find that totally. I don't know what it is about. It's like me and them. You know what I mean? I look at that and think, how can I defeat you if I do this, or if I cover that hole or something? Can I do it? And I just marvel at those guys.
Well, your ant tails are legendary, on here.
They are.
People are still talking about you sharing a donut with an ant with a.
Well, it was an apple fritter.
Apple fritter, excuse me.
And I wondered why the little glisten, the glistening, the sugar on my apple fritter was moving, and I was bound and determined not to let them get ahead of me on this one. So true, but there's something about those guys. Every time I walk this route, and I do a lot of walking,
except not January 1st, you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't go out of the house that day, but I just found it to be absolutely fascinating that they can recover from that and that. So, but you were telling me something about an experiment, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I was watching an experiment the other day where they were showing how the ants can work together as a team. This was a maze, and they had it was a T-shaped object, a flat T-shaped object, and the ants wanted to get it from point A to point B through this maze, because for like the other end of the maze was home, I guess. And it was fascinating to watch the top view of this as they would try one way, and nope, that didn't work, and then they'd back it out, and they're all working together on this thing, and they're all talking to each other apparently in ant talk, But they eventually figure out a way to get it through the maze. It was amazing.
It is amazing. So, all right, hats off to the ants, and off we go in 2025.
Yeah, we made it. We made it.
We made it, and I told this before in one of the early episodes that the four of us. So I have a picture of the same four guys, and they said, "Do you think we'll ever live?" This is 1964. He said, "You think we'll live to see the year 2000?"
Yeah,
2000.
Wow.
And I said, "Man, I don't know. That's a long way away. That's going to be could be dicey,
It is a long way away now.
It is a long way." Looking back.
Fortunately.
Anyhow, away we go. So what's happening on your side?
Well, we had
What are your thoughts?
we had my son's crew in here over Christmas for 6 days. Had a great time. Did a bunch of stuff. And of course, the day we left, my wife and I both came down with colds. So I'm kind of on my final days of my holiday cold here, but feeling much better. I was able to walk a mile yesterday.
Uh,
I tried a couple days ago. I got like a half a block and said, I can't go anymore. So I've improved significantly. Uh, that's funny. And I got a note from another note from one of my ex-cycling buddies, Rich. I've talked about him before. He's the guy who taught me how to be tough on a bike.
mhm.
And of course, he's up in Pittsburgh. He says, did my, New Year's Day ride. It was only 13 and a half miles. It was 30 degrees out. He says, thought I was going to die. And he says, man, I got to lose weight. He said, I'd have to lose 30 pounds to be considered obese.